When it comes to martial arts, this is one of those subjects that's very close to my heart because I've done it longer than anything that I've ever done in my entire life. Martial arts. I have been participating in the martial arts longer than any occupation that I have ever had on planet Earth. Martial arts. Almost 50 years. Wow. It sort of tells my age, but I'm not that old. I'm almost 60. But martial arts has been a mainstay for me. So the subject here today is about Shaolin monks. Shaolin monks. Now, I've seen recent videos of people talking about the Shaolin monks, if they are real. Do they still exist? Because, we've seen over the past maybe decade or so uh, this group of men, for the most part, from China that have been traveling the world performing. And they were cast as authentic Shaolin monks. And I've heard in a recent interview about the same subject. Can they fight? Do they really know martial arts? Or are they just performers? I don't want to go into some long spiel about history and so forth. I just want to sort of simplify things and say this. Uh, the term Shaolin means literally temple in the forest. There was more than one Shaolin temple once upon a time in China. And they were burned down, killing most of the monks. And according to historical documents and tales even, there were some surviving monks that were forced into the forest, into public life to protect their lives, and they began to teach martial arts privately outside of the temple. I'm not Chinese. I'm only going by what I have read, documentation over the years, and what even some Chinese authors and masters have said. I do definitely believe that there were Shaolin monks. And I believe that Shaolin Temple was a place of refuge for castaways, people that were uh, homeless, people that was not accepted into mainstream society. The monks opened the doors for those types of individuals. And I believe later on they became monks themselves. Those that met the criteria. You had to have a certain mindset and or spirit and or character or even potential to become a monk. So it was not for everyone. And I know during the 60s and 70s, when martial arts took off because of names like Bruce Lee, Lo Lee, Carter Wong, um, various Jimmy Wayne Yu, uh, T Lung, various martial arts personalities, and even performers during those times, the 60s and 70s, martial arts movies became very, very popular. And movies about the Shaolin Temple were prevalent during that time. And we were made to believe and told to believe that monks had this superior fighting art, all of these animal styles and so forth. And we were told that some of them were so skilled and so spiritual that they could perform things that were not human. Okay? I know of some of those stories. So I believe that this is where the uh, some of the fables came from as it relates to Shaolin monks. I don't believe that everything is true that we've been told about Shaolin monks. I do believe that during the time that they lived, the real monks, and Bodhidharma, some people call Damo, the Indian priest that traveled, and they call him Buddha later on, I do believe that he encouraged them on a spiritual level, a higher level, to train and not be lazy. And then some of the martial disciplines evolved from that. Various forms of fighting and gymnastics, even, and so forth, even forms of meditation. I believe that there are viable, legitimate forms of kung fu for some, that existed during those years and thousands of years before. And even to this very day, I do believe that there are individuals that still exist, I want to say on planet Earth, but in China, that don't broadcast their system of fighting or martial arts because it is a way of life to them. And we will never ever see them in public life on a worldwide scale. So you heard those stories of Tibetan monks, people in various provinces in China who were masters of certain secret arts and things of this nature. I do believe that that existed. I do. And when people say, well, these guys that call themselves Kung Fu monks now that travel around, are they descendants of some of those Shaolin monks back then? No. The Shaolin monks that we see now that travel the world and have even been in the United States performing, this is my take. And I speak from an experienced martial artist standpoint. These guys are just performers. I believe that they are great athletes. Not only are they flexible, not only are they great in gymnastics, which China is known for gymnastics, they have great agility and stamina, and they train for that purpose. I believe a lot of them, because of the popularity that Bruce Lee had and individuals like Bruce Lee, they began to want to monetize and commercialize the idea of there being monks. These are not real Shaolin monks. Yes, these guys are just performers. As I said, their athletic ability is superb. If you notice, if you pay close attention, and you've seen these guys lie on, let's say, a sword. You see them lay on top of a sword, and another guy will put a brick or two on top of him and take a sledgehammer and crack the bricks. Those are not real sharp blades. They're not. And have you also seen the one stunt, and I call it a stunt, where the guy stands there and he's supposed to be mastering chi, and another guy will put a spear up against his throat, and he pushed the spear into his throat until the staff part begins to bow or bend. Did you not know that there's no real point on the spear? You must pay attention to details. These are ornamental weapons for demonstration only. These are not actual razor sharp spears that's being placed against this man's throat, if you pay attention. I challenge you to go and find some videos of them performing, and you will see it. Freeze frame the video, watch up close. You'll see that the spear tip is not even a sharp spear. It's not a spear at all. It's an it is an ornamental spear. So that's really not happening. Or someone might say, well, what about his throat? He's pushing it against his throat. Let me tell you, these guys rehearse this stuff hundreds and thousands of times. He knows where to place that in a certain area on his neck where it appears as though it's on his throat, and he knows just how to adjust himself And the person who's pushing it knows how to be gentle enough and to push in the right spot where it appears as though, note that I said appears as though, he's pushing a very sharp weapon into his partner's throat. It's not real. So, getting back, before I get back, so these guys are performers and they are not martial arts practitioners, not in the true sense of martial arts practitioners. Am I saying that none of them have studied Kung Fu? Not at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying what they are promoting as Kung Fu feats is not Kung Fu at all. Some of them have studied martial arts that are on the stage. You'll see them go through katas or forms, if you will, and they'll run animal forms and things of that sort. They'll do contortions and things. You'll see a little boy a lot of times in some of these troupes, if you will. He'll be on the stage and he'll bend his legs all the way over and he'll have his hands closed like this and his feet are dangling here in front of him. That's cute. That's flexibility. That's what that is. That's not a martial arts trait per se. There are a lot of people who will give their right toe to be able to do that in martial arts, especially when it comes to competition in forms here in America. But anyway, some of these guys have studied or trained in Kung Fu. But what aspect of Kung Fu? In the demonstrative aspect of Kung Fu, the exhibition aspect of Kung Fu, or fighting Kung Fu? There's a difference. I learned a long time ago, as it relates to Kung Fu, most of the Kung Fu systems and or styles that you see performed in martial arts sporting events, let's say the katas or the forms, if you will, there's a demonstration Kung Fu and then there's the actual fighting Kung Fu. When you see open forms in open martial arts tournaments, oftentimes you will see a guy run a kata from karate in open forms, what they call open forms or creative forms. That should never be equated to real fighting. That is to win a trophy or a cash prize. So these people add moves together, make them look pretty, flashy, not only for the judges but for the audience, to get attention to their performance. Standing ovations even, to better their chance of winning the top prizes. This is what you see in martial arts tournaments. But that does not translate to real fighting in the street. So there is a difference. So getting back to the Shaolin Monk group that we see traveling the world, these guys are performing to gain notoriety, popularity, and money under the guise of Shaolin Temple martial arts feats. Extraordinary feats, when all they really are is just simply performers. So, do Shaolin monks still exist? Is the counter side to this question or video. I believe. I won't say Shaolin per se. I will say that I do believe, I personally do believe, that there are some descendants of some of the ancients still existing. Again, I believe that there are descendants of systems and styles that existed thousands of years ago. And with that said, I believe that there have been systems and styles that have disappeared. They no longer exist because either the family had been relinquished, even family of martial arts practitioners relinquished or disappeared from that system where there was no one else to pass it on to, or there were some masters of certain arts that could not pass it on because there was no one worthy to pass it on to, and they died with those secrets. That happens all of the time, I believe. Now, In terms of descendants today, I believe that there are those still in existence in China. I'm only speaking respectively of China right now. Other arts in other worlds, to include Africa and so forth. There are some things that these, I would say instructors is a safe word, or teachers. There are some things that they can't teach and won't teach because they are sacred to them. And there has to be someone worthy of being taught those secrets. Now, there are those who want to scoff at martial arts and statements like I've just made and say, well, you're talking about uh, levitation and climbing a wall without using any tools, a flat wall, and walking on water and things like this. These are some of the other tales and stories that have been placed in history books as it relates to martial arts. There are some people that don't believe that that can happen. But let me ask you this question. Uh, if we, human beings, as I'm sitting here talking to you as a man and a human being as we know human beings, if we die today, where do we go? Can anyone answer that question intellectually, logically, and with truth? Where do we go? It would be a mystery to many of us, would it not? Is it not also a mystery how man is here on planet Earth? And we're living. We have the capacity to build, create. We have emotions. We can hate. We can love. We can worry. We can build. And then we die. But where did we come from? Isn't there some divine providence, some divine creator that is responsible for everything that we see around us? The sun, the solar system, the vast oceans that we have, the earth, and all of the things that are necessary for our existence is here on earth. If that can happen, if some magnificent, omnipotent, powerful being has brought all of this into existence and we are in awe at it, who's to say that man can't walk on water? Who's to say that man can't levitate? Who's to say that man can't see someone else in the future or some event in the future if life itself is a mystery? So how can we truly say that a martial arts master, a practitioner of martial arts, can't do this particular thing, or it's just unrealistic? Are we only looking at it from a physical standpoint? If I can't touch it, then it must not be real. Does it mean that it doesn't exist? These great masters that have been talked about in folklore and even in fables and even in stories and books historically, does it mean that it's all a bunch of bull crap? That it couldn't possibly happen? But you know what? We happened. The universe happened. Why can't it happen? I do believe in chi, and I do believe in ki, the Japanese call it. The yogis call it, or the Indians call it prana. I believe in that life force, and I do believe in certain mysteries. Stop discounting everything just because you can't see it, touch it, and taste it. Some things exist. The real problem is that we probably just simply don't know it. Just because we don't know it doesn't mean it's not possible. We believe that there's a creator, most of us. We believe that there's a God, most of us, and we've never seen him. Hello, brother teacher out.